A new era in space travel is beginning. Humanity efforts to decipher the meaning of existence can now exceed the boundaries of the Earth or even the solar system. But in order to build a colony in space, we have to go through some stages. Some pauses. In 1959, the Russian-made spacecraft Luna 2 reached an extraterrestrial location for the first time in history. And 10 years after that, for the first time, a person set foot on the lunar surface. It's been years and we are making plans to go to the moon again, maybe even to Mars. And we want to build colonies there, because only these achievements can allow us to open up to the interior universe. So which of these stops should we prefer before spreading to our solar system or even our galaxy? If a colony is to be established outside the Earth for the first time, should it be on the moon or on Mars? What does it mean to establish an extraterrestrial colony? Do you think we were born a little early to think about all this? Or can we at least witness the creation of a permanent colony on the moon? NASA plans to send astronauts to the moon in 2024 and establish a permanent base on the moon in 2028. Similar goals are the agenda of China. As you know, mankind has been to the moon before. It seems to me that this is the right option to make a start in our dream. After all, it is much closer than Mars. We have more idea what's out there and what's not. But when it comes to live there are many different challenges waiting for us than we expected. We have the technology to get to the moon. It will only cost a little. Companies such as the American National Aeronautics and Space Administration or Elon Musk's SpaceX say it costs between $20 and $30 billion. We can say that this amount remains relatively small, especially considering that much more than $150 billion has been spent on the International Space Station, but the return on it can be much more than that, not only financially. After all, it is not all about money, is it? It is also necessary to look at the incident in terms of its contribution to science and technology. The Moon and Mars projects can create great opportunities for us not only in the sense of space technologies, but also in the sense of developing new technologies that will contribute to the Earth. It could also launch a new space race. It could be the first step in our ability to spread to the solar system and beyond. So where do you think the first stop should be? The moon or Mars? In fact, neither the moon or Mars are very hospitable places. Mars seems to make more sense at first glance. Glaciers, valleys, atmosphere, waters that will come out from under its surface. Sosta is similar to those on Earth. It might look like Earth if we tried a little harder. It's just a little cold, so you think we should warm it up a little. There have been some who have seriously considered this, but the temperature is not the only problem. Mars has radioactive deserts, its soil is poisonous, and it is also impossible to breathe. But there is not even an atmosphere on the moon. Moreover, if we look at the cold on moon nights, we can say that there is a summer season on Mars. Whether it will install it on Mars or on the moon, this will be a very difficult task. If you want to live in one of these bases, you should be ready for an instance, stressful, challenging, and psychologically destructive life. But among the 8 billion people who want to this, there will definitely be those who want to. A moon day lasts about 29 Earth days. It's not something we are used to all. It contrasts a Mars day lasts about 24 hours and 39 minutes. It's pretty familiar. The moon's surface temperature rises to an average of 107 degrees Celsius during the day and drops to -153 degrees Celsius at night. That's a 260 degrees Celsius declination between day and night. And on Mars, we are facing a slightly more optimistic number. It has average temperature of -63 degrees Celsius. It's like living at the poles. There is no atmosphere on the moon that will protect us from large and small meteorites or cosmic radiation. Mars, on the other hand, has a thin atmosphere, although not the same as on Earth. Even if it doesn't have oxygen, it is at least capable of elevating meteor rain. The gravity of the moon is about 70% of that of the Earth, while the gravity of Mars is about 38% of the gravity on the Earth's surface. Although both are unfavorable for human muscle, bone, and circulatory systems, gravity on Mars seems relatively favorable. The surface of both the moon and Mars is covered with a dirty and corrosive dust. It won't be easy to build a colony, but you know humanity is pretty good at achieving difficult things. Let's say we managed to establish a colony on the moon, but many more problems await us. For example, how will solar panels generate electricity on moon nights? The nights on the moon are very long. That's why astronauts might have to constantly change places. Or how do we perforate the ice on the moon and turn it into water for human use? In fact, if we can find enough water, we can do even more than that. For example, perforate water can be used in a hydroponic agriculture to ensure that one of the most important things for human life is met: food. In fact, maybe if we could decompose water into hydrogen and oxygen, we wouldn't have to constantly change places. We will have a permanent source of energy. We can even fuel our rockets with it. It may be quite logical to start from the moon before moving on to colonize Mars, because moving resources into lunar orbit will be much easier and cheaper than in Earth orbit. The Earth's gravity is very high and it has atmosphere that causes severe frictions. If we find more raw materials on the moon than we have hoped for, we can use the resources there to make it self-sufficient and even export it to Earth. A good example of this is China's preparation to bring helium-3 nuclear fission fuel from the moon in 2030. Helium-3 is very scary on the Earth. Despite this, Professor Ouyang Zion, who heads the China's lunar exploration program, estimates that the amount of helium-3 on the moon will be enough for Earth for 10,000 years. Nuclear fission is able to produce 4 times more energy than nuclear energy and 4 million times more energy than oil. With this cheap and clean energy, the fifth industrial revolution in the world can begin, and everything can now become more possible in a place where energy is abundant, even if this place is the moon. Now that we have taken care of the energy business, we can grow our base now. If we want to build things that are too big to bring from Earth, we will have to use lunar materials. In addition, the soil of the moon has all the necessary ingredients for making concrete. In addition, advance in 3D printing may make it possible to produce everything necessary for the moon colony. Now, let's look at the Mars a little bit. The solar energy problem on the moon is also present here. Although the days are similar to those on Earth, Mars is very far from the Sun. That's why only 40% of what is on Earth can receive solar energy. And with the addition of massive dust storms forming on Mars, it becomes very difficult to see the Sun. It seems that we will also have to use nuclear energy on Mars. Although Mars has an atmosphere, it is only about 1% of the Earth, not to mention that it consists mostly of carbon dioxide. That is why we will have to fill our base with an artificial atmosphere consisting of nitrogen and oxygen. Since Mars does not have a large magnetosphere or a dense atmosphere, half of all radiation from space reaches the Earth. This, in turn, will significantly increase the risk of cancer for those who will live on Mars. For this, we will need to protect our base by taking a number of very robust measures. But no matter what we do, we still can provide protection on Earth. Another nuisance is methane dust. This powder is very thin and is so electrostatically charged it will stick to everything. We can say that it would not be good for him to enter the living quarters and escape into the lungs of the astronauts working at the base. Not only because it is thin and tenacious, but also because it is poisonous. I think it will also make the most sense to the feeding business using hydroponic agriculture again. Even if we solve all these problems, the low gravity brings other brand new problems. We have already said that the gravity on Mars is 38% of that of the Earth, means muscle wasting and bone loss, even cardiovascular problems. That is why it will be necessary to exercise often during the day, and we'd better not be on Mars too long. Returning to Earth every few years is the only way to stay healthy. In this way, not only physical health, but also mental health can remain more stable, at least until we get things completely back on track. Beginnings are always difficult. The millions of kilometers that lie between Mars and Earth are not another decadence compared to the Moon. Their orbits are such that they are close to each other only every 2 years. That's why sending help from Earth in emergency is a separate nuisance. But no matter what happens, if we are determined and persistent enough, we can overcome all the problems. It is important to go to Mars, because if we find a sign of life there, we will understand that we are not alone, or that we may not be alone in the universe. By studying the biological and biochemical structure of the evidence we have found, we can find out whether life on Mars is the same as life on Earth. It is also important if we don't meet. Thanks to this, we can understand that biological life is a concept that occurs quite rarely. Result: it seems that the first thing to do in this new period of humanity is to first build a stop on the moon and then go to the most Earth-like planet in the solar system, namely Mars. Space programs can lay the foundations for new technologies that will benefit humanity. Maybe we'll learn how to recycle carbon dioxide on Mars. We will find a cure for climate change on Earth. Or we can develop crops that can grow on the moon with very little water and solve the problem of hunger on Earth. For example, there may come a time when we owe it to our colony established on Mars. Recycle and reuse our waste 100%. It all starts with dreaming. Dreaming is one of the most important steps towards realization. There is a future in space. There is science. Aren't all technologies for the benefit of humanity already a product of goals that are considered impossible? Space is hard, but we can improve if we don't try to overcome the challenges. If we can build a peaceful world, all nations can finance and contribute to space technologies. In order to make interstellar travel possible, we need intermediate stop. We don't even have a stop on the moon yet. Science and technology are very important. The tabloid or political events that adorn our newspaper headlines today will not be remembered tomorrow. But the black hole photo of the Milky Way, taken for the first time in 2022, will be remembered 100 years later and 1000 years later, and it will be included in textbooks. Because the only way forward is through science and technology. Don't forget to subscribe and like it. You can find the resources I use in the description. Stay healthy.